importing banana to actually exporting banana is happening right now. How did this happen? Let's share the experience of getting this done at large scale. How did it happen? That's what I'll share. And from this, you're going to see it cuts across many things being spoken here about soil fertility. It talks about policy. It talks about water. It talks about partnerships in reality. And it's not can be done by one institution. It can't be done by one person. It can't be done by women alone. It's truly partnership to reach. When you come into impact, it takes governments, takes donors, development partners. It's true partnership in development. Okay, this is working. Let me just say a little bit about Africa Harvest. In case you may not know, we are an international NGO, headquarters in Nairobi, but we do have a presence in Washington, D.C., our parent incorporation. We have a 501c status there. We also in Toronto and Canada. We also have offices in other places in Africa. We are not a very old organization. We started in 2002, but we have had a phenomenal growth because of, I think, our focus on downstream impact, and we are still growing. We have a staff of 49 in Nairobi, but we are still growing in other places. We have a board of directors, which is very important for the growth of organization. Currently, we have Mokta Tule, who you might know from Senegal. Previously, we had Dr. Kanayo, the president of IFAD, who helped us to put very good structures. Our vision is to be a lead contributor, making Africa free hunger, poverty, malnutrition. I say working with other people. Our mission is to use innovative technology. That's important because some organization will not touch this technology, that technology. We are not afraid of technologies. And the institutional approaches to improve livelihood, rural communities, participatory smallholder farmers through science, technology-based sustainable models of agricultural development. And really to do this calls for partnership. So our mission is truly to partner with others. We have 7 programs, some of which have been run together. We have a 10-year strategic plan to which we shall be able to implement all of them. But currently, our very growing program is on food and nutritional security, which includes market and policy, includes natural resource management, which I'm saying when you are doing grassroots impact, you need all this. Biosafety and regulatory, because we do have a GM project which deals with nutrition enhancement of sorghum with vitamin A. And we do have a technology development deployment, which works in consortium, communication and knowledge management, and of course the finance and business development for the growth of the organization. Again, food and nutritional security is where I'm going to make my presentation today based on, where we mobilize, organize, and bring interventions at grassroots level with farmers. Facility technology development through consortium. This is really kind of a core strength. Number 2 is consortium based. We have been very successful in bringing consortium to focus on major issues, working with other organizations. And number 3, communication and capacity building. We see many of our partners, which are in our future focus is going to be a lot on capacity building and communication, knowledge-based and capacity building. If I summarize our 10-year strategy, there's a last strategy on Africa Harvest. We're really targeting to reach 1 million smallholder farmers in 10 countries in Africa in the next 10 years through strategic partnership. Our focus is the value chain. It doesn't matter whether it's sorghum, it's rice, it's sweet potato, whatever, as you see, is these are principles. Once you have developed the principles and focus on the value chain, it can work with whatsoever. It can work for sorghum, it can work for cassava, for anything, and truly we have tested this, it works. And the whole value chain approach to start focusing on identifying barriers and bottlenecks and trying to remove or elevate that. We are encouraging public-private sector partnership. We realize in almost everything we are doing, we need private sector partnership and public sector partnership. We are currently focusing on ourselves, where is the area where ICRISAT is focusing on sorghum, on millets, on dry land, but we have also worked in and still moving in the tropics as well as other areas, depending on where the need is and the challenge and the focus. Ecosystem management, sustainable livelihood through integrated approach to rural development. So that's just a preview. Now I'm going to focus on the issue or the area that adds value to this conference, and truly I must say that to be focusing a whole institution on how to get smallholder farmers is to me like music in the ears, because the last 20 years, that's an area I've been grappling with, the whole area of really looking at how do we get impact as smallholder farmers. And when we started work in Africa 20 years ago, it was really a challenging situation. Many donors were just funding research. I can remember visiting even Rockefeller Foundation, IDRC, was saying we just currently funding research, we're not funding market, but there have been such a change over time that we are talking the same language, that we can't fund production and ignore market. So there have been a paradigm shift and to the benefit, and that's what going to bring sustainability. Now, what was the need and why the need? Why did we get into the banana value chain? And that can be also any crop, whether it's sorghum, whether it's cassava, whether everything. You're going to find these are the challenges in Africa. And I'm going to talk about Africa. I don't have the experience of Asia, but I'm sure the issues, the principles are the same. The growth of population compared to food or food production. There's always a discrepancy where you have the population increasing more than the food production, decline in the land, in the unit family, land is not increasing. I think the last speaker said, let's buy land, there's no more being made. That is true. Even of Africa, no more land is being made, and a lot of it is being shanked to other things. Land of the banana had declined by 30% overall, especially we started in Kenya. And due to high incidence of pests, diseases, a little focus on research because it's one of the orphan crops, use up to 10, 14 tons per hectare, where we can actually do 60. A lack of technology application in the banana subsector, a huge price increase per fruit. You can see over that period of time in Kenya alone, the price had gone up by over 500%. Banana being a food crop for babies was not even available. Not available, the price very, very high. And so it was a hue and cry. I can remember meeting with the farmers, meeting with Director Kari, meeting with several people. That's Can Africa Harvest focus on dividing the banana value chain. And to identify the problem, we did a feasibility study. The Kenya Agriculture Research Institute, but it was very farmer-based. It was very down to earth. And we engaged a number of stakeholders to understand the challenge. Included the farmers, consumer, traders, scientists. Africa Harvest provided the lead, but again, it was a multiple engagement. And one, as of being a biologist, I'm a biologist by training, I had one question burning in my mind. If we do have serious virus incidents, we're going to have problems. Try to use technologies because of the little infection. So we engaged the scientists from UK, who came and did some study, and told us that Kenya, there's no serious banana virus problem, so tissue culture can actually work. And that was, to me, very, very helpful. And truly, up to now, we're still riding on that. We, unlike some other countries, we don't have serious problems. Evaluate, and we have to evaluate available options with the view of choosing the most effective one. What options are available to rehabilitate the banana industry in Kenya? And here we're talking about the value chain. And why the tissue culture technology was chosen. You agreed to be able to turn around, we need a tissue culture technology. And that's based on laboratory. That means farmers have to move from using what they have already used, because they were using suckers, and suckers carry disease from one place to another, and nematodes and all that. And so we had to, and getting the farmers to, so we have to, from observation made from the study, we visited South Africa and found South Africa, certainly they actually using banana tissue culture for their large scale growing and export, but it's done by different type of groups, large scale farmers. In Kenya, we have to integrate it to smallholder farmers. So you really can't cut and paste. You can't cut South Africa and paste to Kenya, but you learn the principle. The focus is the farmer there. There's also, they had designed the way they had made it work in South Africa. They had the research being done in Institute of Tropical Subtropical Crops. They had the tissue culture labs, commercial labs like Duloy, which is still there producing 4 million seedlings. They had a government-supported virus diagnostic unit in the country. That means they had a phytosanitary system that works. In fact, they're also exporting seedlings. Now, the reason why we realized we need a tissue culture is that you can have large quantities of clean, superior material, it doesn't carry diseases. That's a good starting point. It's the best IPM you can have because you are starting to be reducing the incidence of disease, pests and diseases. Of course, when you're dealing with sorghum, you need certified seed. That is a principle. If you're going to start where you need certified seed, and seeds are problem. Whether we are talking of sorghum value chain, we're talking of cassava, you must get material to cassava mosaic virus, if you're talking sweet potato, whatever crop you're dealing with, whether it's rice, whether it's wheat, whether it's rice, certified seed is a problem. Getting enough, and I can tell you that because we're also working with sorghum now, and we are there, the challenge of getting certified seed is the same as we had to face with tissue culture seedlings, which are disease-free, disease certified. We found there's a benefit using tissue culture. The plants were growing faster, they're uniform and surprise some early maturity, and the bigger bunches due to uniformity, and I think the hormonal kick before they come from the lab. Now, challenges of establishing tissue culture banana technology now is not what's happening in the lab, but I know people here have many labs. It's really getting to work for the farmer. There's no problem in setting up a tissue culture lab. I've actually set 3 of them myself. There's no problem having a lab, is getting it really to work with the farmer. And now we are starting a country program. The first challenge we had is having laboratories. South Africa, they had all these commercial labs. In Kenya, there was none. And so to get enough seedling, there was one university, JKUAT, another saying, oh, we are having materials here and there. So we got the order. The first time we went, after we did our groundwork, we ordered seedling 4,000. We had 40,000, we got 4,000. So that's challenge of materials. Certification, again, I said, are not just virus-free, but certified, meaning they don't have somachroma variants. I don't know how many of you have the experience of dealing with large volumes of, especially banana, flowers. You can have somachroma variants, and you're only going to learn this 1 year later when you find there's no fruit. They look very nice, and that happens in the lab actually, because if you keep the same material over a long period of time, after 6 cycles, you generate somachroma variants. And you come to the time of the fruit, there's no fruit. But you don't realize that. But the farmer has already dug the hole, put manure, put this, put that. 1 year later, there's no fruit. And you can have up to 60% loss. So it's quite a serious problem. In South Africa, it's regulated. You find many of the labs in Africa, they're not regulated. And the other third challenge we had, and it's a challenge you're going to have with the value chain, is diversity. I know many of presenters talk about diversity. Getting diversity meaning we have to deploy the products coming from research. We have got a lot of varieties being generated by ICRISAT, being generated by IT, being generated by CARI, whatever, getting those to the farmers. So there is diversity in the research, there's diversity, there may be diversity in the private sector, but to get that diversity to the farmer, there are all kinds of barriers and bottlenecks. Because, and you heard the minister talk about the foundation seed. The foundation seed is held by researchers. To get that foundation seed to the private sector and get enough of it. So you can go and say, okay, I want this variety, but you get something different from a mix. So it is with the tissue culture, it is even with the unless there's a good established business. We already having that challenge just last season. We ordered a certain variety of sorghum, 7 tons. We got a mixture of everything from a certain seed company, not named in it, although we have handed them over to Kefis. So what I'm saying, the farmer has a problem because the seed business, diversity, purity of the seed, germination of the seed, I can really spare time on this and not spare too much, but just know the seed system is a barrier and a bottleneck in the value chain. The diversity, the quality, the disease-free, certification, distribution, all these are challenges. Germination. When we started deploying the sorghum value chain, the researchers told us that you need 4 kilos per acre. We did see germination university in Nairobi, we found the germination is 40%. So we went back to the company that sold us. Said, you realize the seed is 40% germination? And then we argued with them, either you reduce the price or give us at least 80%. So I can't say enough, but it's really a bottleneck. The seed, when you're coming to impact are dealing with the farmers. Establishment of partnership. Again, there's a lot we can say, but I think what is important is to see the kind of partnership that are needed for this. And as I'm saying, these are principles, and I know some of them are applying this. In every case is different. We started banana, in fact, before Africa Harvest with ICRISAT, and we were looking at somebody has to take leadership in this value chain. It has to be a promoter. It can't happen by itself. Someone has to champion the value chain, especially when you're dealing with smallholder farmers. If you say the government is very hard. Or they may try to do it, but someone like the championing. So our business in Africa Harvest has to champion the process and carry on removing barriers and bottlenecks along the value chain. Local Fair Foundation have been new partners in development. We started the IDRC, Local Fair Foundation, Debbie, congratulations. You supported us on your Local Fair Foundation. Kina Desina, the minister who was here, was a great supporter. And then finally it came to AGRA, and we worked with AGRA, and AGRA now it's been going on now is USID. Everybody have been adopting the project and moving forward, which I think is good, because a good baby will always be adopted. It doesn't matter who is the donor. Our local research partners for evaluating the varieties, NGOs and promoters and maybe private sector, except where there is big incentive. They're not going to a lot of evaluation. It's the work of the research organization, the NAS, to do the evaluation for varieties. So we bring many varieties, but we evaluate because which variety is good for which area. Most of Africa is diverse ecological areas. So evaluation of variety, know which variety. For the maize hybrids, you have this hybrid 6 days for this area, for that. So is banana, so is sorghum. Some varieties will be good for this area, not good for this area. And I think that's the area where the NAS comes in very well. Also for introduction of new varieties. So introduction of new varieties. Then you have the private sector for delivery of large volumes. And I know when the minister was talking about the private sector, it was sounding very like he's handing over everything to the private sector. I think there had to be a policy to guide this, but the private sector sees where there is a bottleneck, and if there is incentive, they're sure going to open that bottleneck. The important thing is a policy to provide a guideline so that greed doesn't overdo things or hurt the system. But we realize without the private sector, we are not going anywhere. The universities were promising us this and not even delivering. The quality, the what. But the private sector will sign a contract and they'll deliver. And so we can't get into the private sector. Then training of the laboratories. Now, we decided to help nurture local private sector. The last point, very important, because you can't keep on importing everything from South Africa. Let's nurture the local private sector. We'll take researchers, it doesn't matter for public, private, take them for training. And unfortunately, in the private sector, you find some of them have already left somewhere else. So local private sector, we say some local private sector laboratories in Cali, some of them are still there, the GTL still going, Mimea International, nurseries. Some of them are still going on, but a few have disappeared. Then we have the technology support. I say from ITS in South Africa, to help set the local trial, the issues like setting up the law. There are many things you have to evaluate before you can go large scale. A third one, which will be very important for ICRISAT, at this point here, we face the challenge to get access materials from international sources. We try to get local jam plasma, especially cooking varieties from IT inbound. It was an uphill battle because I will not call it a battle, but a challenge, because they say, okay, we give 3 tubes to a country. We went to carry to trace where the 3 tubes ended up, we couldn't find. So by then I was in the board of IPIGRI, and by then now it's Biodiversity, and because and tried to talk to MA-free zone, and so I got 50 tubes. Now what to do with 50 tubes? To me, that was very good. Took them to South Africa, multiplied, got 4,000, and from there I was able to build local varieties. The thing is, when you're dealing with the farmers, you are sorting out the farmers' problem. The farmers say we need the cooking varieties. You cannot take diseased material just in the neighborhood. You have to look for certified material, especially if your organization has high integrity. And so to get material from gene bank, the Southeast, we have a gene bank in this place, with International Center, try to retrieve that material for smallholder farmers. I'm sure things have changed, but it was very difficult. But and then I think another very important point, which is very important here. Socio-economic impact studies. We should not assume things are happening. It's always good to get from outside to look. Is it, are we really having impact? So we partnered with University of Bonn, Professor Martin Kine, known to some of you working with Harvest Plus, and we started the socio-economic impact study. Then we partnered with Professor Sharia to look 10 years later, had the impact really happened? So socio-economic impact studies, even when we are doing good things, the value chain, we need to know, is it really happening? Are the farmers being impacted? We can't get excited and forget about the numbers. Adaptive research on farm, on station, varietal evaluations. Now the evaluation, these are some of the things I would say, maybe I mentioned them, but let me emphasize again. Why do we need to carry on evaluations, especially with smallholder farmers? They are very risk averse. And if you start wrong, in the wrong way, they will not trust you. So it's very good to do work with the research, where things are problems, they happen in a research stage, and then you bring something that you have already tested. So we have diverse agroecological zone adaptation, so we know this variety fits this place. At the same time, market. I didn't mention, we did really look at what is needed in the market. We did a quick economic survey in the market as well. A feasibility study also included the market. Yield performance. If it's not yielding, it's not going to be adopted, even if it is resistant to this virus, resistant to that. We researcher, my researcher, use as researcher. Being resistant to this is not gonna sell. If it doesn't have taste, if it doesn't have yield performance, the farmers will not accept it. So we have to look for yield performance. Utmost spacing. South Africa, the spacing is different because in the East Africa is tropical. So spacing is very important. Actually, we can control the bunch by the spacing. So spacing is very, very important. Disease and pest tolerance. Of course, once the disease comes, the pest comes, whether you plant create, whether it's sorghum, like now Kenya is having a problem with a maize viral disease. I know some may know about it. So disease and pests are going to come one time or another. So ability to keep the materials free of virus and diseases over the long period of the time in the value chain. The farmers, that's why research and the value chain farmers need to work together. That's why we have always worked with CARI. Someone looking over, has something happening with the value chain, whether the sorghum value chain, whether it is banana, cassava, the whole idea of checking what's going on in the field is important. Very important to compare the technological innovation with what the farmers were doing before, on farm and on station. And here, because we are talking with the principles, so important, because the technology is going to cost a little bit more. Is it a gain? And of course, that comes in socio-economic impact study, but we realize the farmers also need to know at a very early stage whether they are really making money. Consumer preference, I can't overemphasize that, and that's across the board of the value chain. Farmers' interest in engaging with the technology versus field demonstration, we realize is absolutely important for farmers to take ownership, that they're involved in research. They just telling them this and that, they want to be involved. So we engage the farmers with on-farm field schools, and so the farmers were able to take ownership because they were actually keeping their own data. They had their balances. We say this weighs this, they're weighing and keeping data. They were part of the original research. Now, major constraint to addressing the value chain, again, I'm gonna go very quickly. There's technology or the seedlings access. I think I've said a lot about that. There's a training, technical capacity building. I know the ICRISAT have been doing a lot of that, especially on sorghum and all the other things. The inputs, there's so much. I think the last two papers talked about fertilizer, organic. The tree would care less whether it is organic, inorganic, and I agree, we need to inputs. Smallholder farmers need inputs, not just large scale farmers. We can't talk more about that. It's also teaching them how to compose. And really, the banana farmers have found their way out. The first thing they do when they make money, they buy a cow. And the cow is mainly to make manure. They have their own shortcut. So the farmer indigenous knowledge. In fact, I used to get surprised. They would buy a bull. I said, why are you buying a bull to start the milk cow? They said, no, the bull will trade more manure. And that means I'm going to make more money because manure is to fertilize my bananas back as well as to as well as they would also fertilize their maize and beans and everything else. They will start with a bull. I say, they will start with a milk cow. Why a bull? It has more energy to tread on manure. So quickly they know that these things do really matter, and they can actually make manure. Infrastructure, the roads network, that's a problem, especially you're dealing with the back. Whether it's cassava especially, if there's no road network, and you put a lot of cassava without road network. And that's why, of course, the policy and government comes in. Banana is a heavy crop, roads network, to take the produce to the market. And of course, the market infrastructure. So you can talk from small to big. But if you have so much banana and there's no market to take to the no road network, it's a problem. And finally, the policy. And I'll not emphasize that because I think that was going to be a government which can look at a policy to open the barriers and bottlenecks in the value chain. It's a government that is going places. And we need policy, especially to move crops from orphan crops to real crops that the government is supporting. So I think I've talked a lot. So I'll quickly go over the value chain. I've talked a lot. We use this program, but you can actually, if I say the starting point for value chain need to be right there. Don't push anything that's not going to have market. So I fully agree with the ICRISAT strategy, really starting with looking at the market. Is the availability, their market. And you can hear the minister is busy looking at the market, even where the produce will go. So there's a loop, not a straight line. And then awareness creation, farmer organization, training, capacity building, baseline survey. Baseline survey is a must for the long-term sustainability, to understand the resources where farmers are, so you don't come with ideas that can't fit. Seedling availability, affordability, that's the private sector linkages, nurseries, whatever the crop is, you're going to have not only there, but are the seeds available? That's where we link with the banks, microcredit, subsidies, all come into that. Number 3 is agronomy. Between getting 14 tons to 60 tons is truly good agronomy, fertilizer, water, pest management. And it doesn't matter whether it's sorghum, whether it's banana, the story is the same. To unlock the improved genetics of the research we are doing is good agronomy. In fact, we realize if the tissue culture bananas don't have manure and all that, they look worse. Because the sucker comes with his water, his bites, comes with the diseases, but at least something will come out. If the tissue culture do not get any support, you really can't get much out of it. And post-harvest handling, for banana, you can lose up to 40%. So post-harvest handling is very important. And again, the loop continues. And so I'm good to go to the end because I can see I don't have much remaining. Definitely, there's nothing can substitute farmer engagement at capacity building awareness, organization, farmers associations, technology, I mentioned about that, getting the product to the farmer, nurseries, we have certified clean material, training, very fast. Training is not just in a classroom, it's in the field. As you can see, good management, so there's always a bunch coming. This one will come after about 4 months. This one, so there's a mother, daughter, granddaughter management, something like that. And then you have this huge orchard. And this is really smallholder farmers. And let me tell you, there's no reason why smallholder farmers can't have the best. They are more efficient when they are well trained and there's a market. And water, I mentioned about water. We are not talking about the mega irrigation here. We're talking about just looking during the rainfall season, where does the runoff go? Digging a hole there, putting this polythene paper, taps all the runoff during the dry season, get a small pump and irrigate with it. We are doing that with sorghum as well. I want to just, subsidies. This is research we've done. Without subsidies, we're going to leave so many farmers out. That's 1 minute to wind up. I'll say that without subsidies and market, absolute market. Market is a must. And this is socio-economic impact study. Are the farmers making money? Surely they're making money. There is impact at community level, impact at national level. How much are farmers making? How much is the community making? How many hectares have we turned into sorghum, into banana or into sorghum, whatever the case may be? Farmers were making $83 million US. That's what even more now. They have gender, focus on gender. Women are not left out. Very, very important. Finally, I just want to talk about 1 minute to talk about sorghum. That we have transferred this value chain to sorghum. We're working with ICRISAT, you can see some of the ICRISAT partners and CARI. And we have found this trench here, by the way, is to retain water. So sorghum, we are retaining water because a lot of these dry areas, rainfall comes, and then during the dry season, we let the water through. And so we have a bumper crop, and also turning sorghum into nutritious, tasty meals. And a lot of partnerships. This is my last slide to say that to have impact within this value chain is not a one thing, it's not a one person, not one organization. It's really a diverse of issues. Infrastructure, market access, technology, training, input supply, credit access, and policy in the center of all this. And so thank you very much. I will up with that slide because this is ICRISAT and the sorghum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Florence Wambugu. Now, our second speaker, Dr. Rob Barton, very well-known personality. He's the director of the USAID Office of Agriculture Research and Policy in Technology in the new Bureau of Food Security. The office manages a portfolio of research investments that leverage biological and social sciences and economics across USA and globally. Working the CGI system now, US universities and private sectors. He's a plant breeding and geneticist, and he has been especially active in the areas of plant genetic resources and biotechnology. Dr. Rob Barton, we'll be talking on Feed the Future, focusing on value chains for smallholder farmers.